today's topic is periods, and even though we only put it up yesterday, we've had lots of questions when it comes to periods.
And also periods is one. When I was flicking through the app, there was probably about 20 or 30 questions about periods, and every single one was different. You know, I haven't had a period for 7 months. All of a sudden I have not stopped bleeding for 5 weeks, or I haven't had, you know, really, I'm just going to get myself a drink because I'm a bit dehydrated.
I'll just give a recap on periods and things like that, so what to do. So, you know, most people, most women will start their periods in United Kingdom at around the age of 12. It's so 12 tends to be most, but you know, it could be 15, any time between sort of 10 to 15. Most girls will get a period, and in the first year, you know, of your periods, it does tend to be irregular. If your period or in between periods is called your cycle, from day 1 to day 1 is your cycle. So if your cycle tends to be under 21 days or over 35 days, then that's a reason to go and see your doctor. And that's for younger women who are getting periods, because it could be something like polycystic ovarian syndrome. You know, if you're getting heavy, painful periods, you know, think endometriosis. You know, 1 in 10 women actually do suffer with endometriosis, and it can take up to 7 years for a woman to, you know, get diagnosed, because often, you know, it's just put down to period pains. Hi, Anne. And you know, if you are bleeding for more than 7 days, you know, if you're bleeding for a long time, then or it's heavy bleeding, also go and get that checked out, because it could be something like an underactive thyroid that's causing it. So, you know, it's quite good to go and see a doctor. And if you are getting heavy periods, which is a common thing that happens in perimenopause, you know, be aware that you could be iron deficient because you're losing a lot of blood. So, you know, one of the things I think I wanted us to particularly focus on and hone on, and talk about heavy menstrual bleeding. Heavy periods are a common feature of perimenopause, and medically, technically, it's more than 80 mils of blood per day. But you know, who sits there measuring it? But if you're having to change your pad or your tampon every 2 hours, 1 to 2 hours, or if you're flooding through, then that is heavy periods.
And is it a heavy period? And should you be worried about that, or is it just we're calling it a heavy period?
No, you should go and have it seen to, because it could be heavy. It could be heavy because of your hormones, but because of it being heavy, it could be that you might be iron deficient. It could be due to an underactive thyroid. So heavy periods can also be due to an underactive thyroid as well. So so fire away, because I know we've got lots of questions here.
Yeah, there is a lot. 80 mils, how much is that about?
I know, I was going to measure it, you know, I was going to put it in a little pot. So if you think about what's a nice way
an egg cup?
No, more than an egg cup. It would
probably
be about more than an egg cup. Yeah.
Wow.
So I sometimes think about it. You know, I don't know, baby bottles.
Yeah.
You know, feeding baby bottles.
Yes.
And an ounce or so is about 30 mils. So it's almost like 3 ounces. You know, sort of a feed of a baby bottle. Yeah. I know it sounds awful to put it in baby bottle. 80 mils. Yeah.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah, that is.
Wow.
But that will be throughout the 24 hours. If you're losing that much blood, then that's heavy menstrual bleeding.
Yeah.
But, you know, like I said, no one measures it unless you've got a moon cup in place. You know, moon cup, sometimes some women have that for their periods rather than using sanitary towels or tampons.
Which I think definitely ladies out there, moon cups.
Because, you know, it's environmentally friendly.
I mean, and they're really easy to insert. They're comfortable. You don't know they're there. You know, they hold a lot.
Yeah. And it's just initially you just have to get over that mental hurdle that it's a moon cup. But if we're okay with having coils and things fitted inside us and having...
Yeah, I agree. Okay, it says here, if I take estrogen, when are you supposed to have a withdrawal bleed. I thought it was supposed to be after I stopped taking during the 2-week break, but I seem to bleed around the 7th and 10th day after I start them again. Is this normal?
Yeah, so funny enough, there have been a lot of questions about Utrogestan.
Yeah.
How do you take it? You know, my GP says this. Do I take it for 25 days? Do I take it for 14 days? Is it 100? Is it 200? So there's a lot around it. And one of the things is it's one of the things that you can individualize. So in direct answer to the question that you've given, it tends, your withdrawal bleed tends to happen a few days after you stop taking it. If for you it's after 7 days, but that's always the case, that's absolutely fine. You know, if that's the case for you every single time, or usually, you know, every time you stop, your periods start maybe 6 or 7 days afterwards, or your withdrawal bleed starts 6 or 7 days afterwards. As long as that's consistent,
experiencing awful period cramps just before I come on, like I was when I used to be a teenager.
So what was the first part of that question?
That was the 7 to 10 one. She was saying I start then again. Is this normal? And then you said,
oh,
and then she just said, but I'm also having excruciating period pains as well on just before I come on, that I didn't used to have.
So one of the things is, if it's painful, you know, excruciating, then we need to investigate that to see if there's anything else going on, like a fibroid.
Yeah.
So fibroids are so you know, be aware of fibroids, because just because you're menopausal, if you're on HRT, the fibroids can still grow.
Yeah.
And so it could be that that's what's causing the cramps when you get your period. So in that instance, if that is happening, you're getting excruciating period pains, I'd be thinking, let's do a scan. Let's make sure there's nothing else going on.
Okay. Right. Now we have, my last period came after 4 months and was so heavy that I had to change every half an hour. Is this normal in perimenopause, and why does it happen, Dr. Harper?
Okay, so it can be normal in perimenopause. You know, it's one of the things that women get these heavy periods, and it's because of hormonal imbalance. So, you know, if we just recap why we get a period, it's because during our cycle, we get estrogen levels increase and it thickens the lining of the womb. Then we get a slight increase in progesterone, which keeps it stable. But then if fertilization or pregnancy doesn't occur, then those hormones drop. And that's when we get that, that's when we get a period in, you know, sort of premenopause. What's happening in perimenopause is your body's not following that cycle. So what's happening is the estrogen that your body's producing is thickening up the lining of the womb. And then the progesterone, when it kicks in, that's when you get the shedding. So by that point, your lining of the womb could be much thicker than when it was every month. And that's because our body's no longer following that cycle that it used to follow.
And it can just keep getting thicker and thicker.
Yeah, and then when the estrogen levels drop and the progesterone levels drop as well, that's when suddenly you get your bleed, and that's why you then get a heavier bleed
because it's not
happening every. Yeah.
Right, I understand that now. I'm 47. For the last year, my periods have been either super heavy and can last 8 to 9 days, or more frequent, sometimes twice a month, but still lasting 7 days each period. How long does this phase last? I'm so worn out by it, and is there any supplements I should be taking to support this phase?
So this is perimenopause, and again, it gets back to the fact that your body's no longer following that regular cycle.
Yeah.
And that's why it's happening after 2 weeks or 4 weeks or sometimes 6 weeks. Supplement wise, I always say take an iron tablet, because you know you're bleeding. It doesn't always have to be heavy bleeding, but even if you're bleeding frequently, then because you're bleeding more often, you're more likely to become iron deficient anemic. The other thing is very common in perimenopause, to have a Mirena coil fitted. Now the Mirena coil, because it's got progesterone on it, keeps the lining of the womb stable and prevents it from thickening up. So it keeps it thin, and that's why most women, or a lot of women, don't get a period on it, and it works really well for those women who are having that heavy menstrual bleed. And you know, no one can say how long this is going to last, because perimenopause can last a few years, 4 years, 10 years, you know, so I can't give you a
and if you're having to deal with this each month, or not knowing, and as we said, it can go on for 10 to 15 years. I mean, you don't really want to be, I mean, that's just
I'm thinking about Mirena coil.
I would have the Mirena coil as well. I had it for 20 years. I had 2 lots of 40, twice I had one. I think it was 5 or 7 years I had it for each one. Yeah, it's the best thing I ever did. I've started estrogel and progesterone. I've had 2 periods this month. The last one was like a very dark brown and was almost spotting. And I have a very tender period pain for a few days.
Yeah. So when women do start on HRT, estrogen and utrogestan, or whichever progesterone that they start on, but when you start on HRT, because your body, it's putting your body back into sync and back into a cycle, if you're following that cyclical regime, then sometimes you can get a little bit of irregular bleeding and spotting while your body settles down. It's just the same as when you were, or if you ever took the contraceptive pill. You know, I usually say to people it can take about 2 or 3 months before your body settles into a rhythm with it. So that's quite normal, and it's nothing really to worry about. Yeah, it's nothing really to worry about.
So let's have a look what I've got some more on here. I talk about crump. Let's have a look here.
I mean, I've got one here. It says,
you carry on that one.
I'm having a period every 2 weeks now, and I'm postmenopausal. I think this is not good. And what do you think? The bleeding is not just spotting, it's more, and some clots too. Okay, well, exactly. So that's sort of what we've been covering. Again, it's hormonal imbalance. Either you could go on to a sequential HRT regime, whereby you put your body back into sync, so you have a monthly withdrawal bleed, or you have a Mirena coil fitted, and that can help to sort of control the bleeding, and then obviously, you know, control the fact that iron deficiency anemia. I mean, she has gone on to say, I started HRT 3 months ago. So it might be that your doses need to be adjusted.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe enough progesterone. So it is something that maybe your doses need to be adjusted, or you've been under prescribed the progesterone aspect.
Yeah.
And that's why you keep bleeding.
I've got a young girl here from because I was just reading the app last night. It said, ladies, I'm 36, perimenopausal. I've had it all: pains, nausea, hot flashes, body aches, headaches. There's periods too. Am I dying? Am I bloody dying? The blood is black for 3 days, then nothing. My mood, though, may literally be the death of me. Any advice welcome.
If she's a younger girl, if she's younger,
36,
it's also to think about, could there be some clotting issues? Is that why you're bleeding so heavily? Should you be having a clotting screen done to see that your blood clots properly? Because maybe if it's not clotting properly, that's why you keep having longer periods. Do you have an underactive thyroid? So those are some of the things that it could be. And often period pain and period and heavy periods when you're younger, going on to the contraceptive pill can be useful to regulate the period. But again, one of the things is, if this is painful and heavy, could it be endometriosis? So I'm just saying she should probably just go and get that investigated a little bit more. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so
but I think one of the things that we could lead on from there is, she mentioned mood swings, and somebody else here has said to me, strong emotional mood swings and feeling negative.
Yeah.
My meditation apps aren't touching. Please help. And that's due to estrogen decline. You know, when people are talking about body ache, hot flush, and mood changes as well, you know, sort of this PMS is also because estrogen levels are low and testosterone is more dominant.
Oh, I love you, buddy.
So there are things that you can do with regards to that as well. You know, sometimes even if you're having a small amount of antidepressant on those PMS days, you don't have to have it throughout the month, but just those PMS days can help because it boosts the happy neurotransmitters in the brain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's.
Somebody's here said, I have a Mirena coil, so don't get periods. How do I figure out if I'm perimenopausal? And it's a very common question that we get.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. I didn't have a period, so I had no idea for the last 7 years when my periods had stopped. Because I had a bit of spotting, but it was nothing.
Yeah.
So
on the Mirena coil, you don't. A lot of women don't get periods. But if you are getting symptoms, sorry.
Yeah, I think I got the really bad. Mine was mentally, so it just went hand in hand because of the anxiety and the aching body, and you know, I started to think, wow, as I was ticking off the 20 whatever symptoms I had, you know, then I went and said, please take my coil out. And then as in the Chelsea and Westminster menopause clinic, as she was taking it out, she went, oh, looks like you've got vaginal atrophy going on there. I was like, oh, wow, what next? And I thought, no, I am mind over matter. I'm not going to get that. And I didn't get it. I just said, I do not want this. I'm going to do everything not to have it. So I used my balms.
So if you are somebody with a Mirena coil, that is an instance when having your blood test done would be a good idea. I was saying, if you are somebody with a Mirena coil and you're unsure about where you are in your sort of menopause transition, then you are somebody that having your blood test done would be worthwhile to measure your FSH levels.
Yeah,
so,
true.
You know,
If you don't all of a sudden turn pregnant.
No. I mean, it's yes. All of a sudden, you don't turn pregnant. Yes, it's always good to get your FSH measured. But just saying that, that's a really good point you've made there, Meg. Because if during perimenopause, when your periods first start to get irregular, it's always worthwhile still checking. You know, doing a pregnancy test.
Yeah, I did a pregnancy test. Yeah, they made me do one.
That's a really good idea. They
made me do one. Yeah, I've got here. I'm 45, bad periods, and now anxiety. The doc said I should go on the pill. But
how old was she?
Look at HRT. She's 45.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to have a discussion. It might be better for you to go on to HRT or going on to a more So I that's what I would say. You know. You could go on the pill, but I think they're probably thinking about putting you on a progesterone only pill, a mini pill, at that point. But I would be thinking, you know, you could benefit from some estrogen as well. So going on to HRT.
Yeah, definitely.
There is another pill that I do quite like, which is called Clara, which also has estradiol as its estrogen part.
Yeah, I know lots of my friends take Clara,
So that could be a pill that could work really well for you instead of going straight onto HRT. So sometimes some women go onto that.
Yeah.
Also give some contraception and then move over to HRT as well. Yeah.
It says here, hi, I'm 52, had periods as regularly as clockwork, then missed a period, then the next period was 14 days, and then the next one came, it was 18 days. Is that the start of perimenopause?
Yes.
Yeah. There you go. Yes.
Someone here has put on, I'm on bioidentical hormones. I did not have a period for 15 months. suddenly last month I suddenly had a period. I'm a bit confused. Do I have to wait 1 year again to be postmenopausal? I think the issue here is bioidentical, and I don't really know what those what HRT you're using there, so I can't really answer that question.
Yeah.
But if but normally if you've been a year without a period, and then and you're not on HRT, and you then get some bleeding, you should go to your GP, because that's called postmenopausal bleeding. And you always have to, in a way, think the worst before you think the best. So if anybody's not had a period for over a year and suddenly they start bleeding, go and get that checked out.
I had it checked and they said it was fibroid. I had to take a tablet to stop the bleeding at times. It was so bad I couldn't leave the house or even go and see the doctor. Please don't suffer. That's someone who's telling someone.
So there are tablets that you can take for heavy bleeding when you get the period, and sometimes some women prefer to do that, and they know that every month they're going to take the tablets for a few days. That can be really helpful. You know, she's absolutely right. You don't have to suffer. It's not a really nice thing. A lot of women worry. You've got to wear, going around wearing black clothes just in case
of course.
you through. Flooding is a real issue. And having to carry around spare pairs of knickers, pads, it becomes, your whole world can revolve around it. So if you don't want to have Mirena, there are other things that you can take to help manage the bleeding. And if you want to get your cycle into a rhythm, then going on to a pill in your perimenopause, or going on to HRT, those are also options that you can have.
Yeah.
And if you are somebody with PMS is also something that tends to get worse during perimenopause. And one of the things is, whereas before you sort of knew when it was coming on because you had your regular cycle, now because you don't, it can feel like you're constantly in PMS mode. And so there are things that you can do. When I talk about a low dose antidepressant for the days that you are feeling rubbish, even a little bit of top up of estrogen, or going onto a pill that might help to regulate your periods, or for those women who get really heavy, painful periods, not having a period is a really good answer. So you can cycle the packs. So instead of having a withdrawal bleed after each month, you can have it after 3 months or so. Let's have a look. So how long do we have to take Utrogestan? Do we stop when we are periods, or do we take it forever even when the womb is not bleeding? If you are somebody who's on a continuous regime, as in postmenopausal, then you do have to take it every single day. Although some women who are maybe a bit intolerant, you can get away with doing it every other day. But if you start to bleed when you're taking it, then I usually say to women, take a 4-day break and then restart it again.
What happens if you forgot to take it for a month? And you were postmenopausal?
And you kept using your estrogen?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Okay. So, as I said, estrogen helps to build the lining of the womb. So often, going a month without having your progesterone won't cause it to build up to a point that one would worry about it,
Okay, that's all right then, because I forgot to take mine to LA when I went for a month in January.
Yeah.
And I just thought maybe I should ask now.
No, because some women take it, every 3 months or so. If you're somebody.
Yeah, I just didn't take it, and I was taking it every day, and I forgot to pack it, and I just thought, I'll just take the estrogel and I'll just take the testosterone, but I didn't take the estrogen, so I thought I'd just ask you.
Yeah, well, if you happen to start spotting or bleeding,
nothing happened.
Then it means that we need to probably increase it.
Yeah, I felt fine.
Okay, that's good. Okay, there you go. That's your personal consultation.
Yeah, so there, my personal consultation from the wonderful Dr.
Thank you.
Okay.
So let's have a look. Muse has asked this question. Can you take Utrogestan every other day if you don't like the symptoms such as bloating, etc.? Yes, yeah, you can. I often suggest that, and there have been studies that show that it does well for some women. But obviously, if you start to get breakthrough bleeding or spotting, then it means that your body probably needs a little bit more progesterone. So you may then have to go back to it on a daily basis. And I think I did answer this question before when I said, "Can I please ask about periods every 2 weeks?" I'm on HRT since the last 3 months, so if you are getting your periods every 2 weeks and you're on HRT,
Yeah.
it could be that your body is settling into the HRT. It also could be that maybe the dosages aren't right for you, and you might be a bit underdosed on your progesterone, or your cyclical regime is not. You're not taking the progesterone for long enough.
Yeah.
So I think you need to see somebody to look at your regime and to adapt it to you and your body.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out, Karen, I just turned 50, haven't had a period since early March. I went to the GP, who only suggested antidepressants, to which I refused. I'm not taking anything, and currently, should I? 100% yes. If you've not had a period since March, April, May, June, July, we're at 5 months. Your GP, go back to the receptionist, be polite, be nice, ask the receptionist if there is a menopause specialist within your surgery. Within doing that, when you go in there, download the app. It will show you what you need to take in. It has a symptom tracker. You can track your symptoms. And then you can also, it prepares you for when you're going to go into the appointment. So have a piece of paper with you so you don't get all dittery. Have the points written down and ask why I can't take estradiol gel, estrogen tablet, and testosterone if you ask for that, but then you will have to be sent to a menopause clinic, which you can also ask him to refer you to one of them. It will probably take 9 to 10 months at the moment because we only have about 17 in the UK. Or if you are feeling like that you want to get it done ASAP, I would make an appointment with Dr. Harper. The best money well spent. Because if we think about this, ladies, if it was our children suffering how we are, or our husbands suffering like this, I would be paying, it's not millions and thousands of pounds, but that money would be the best well spent money to not getting hot, aching legs, to wake up not feeling stiff as a board.
Mental well-being.
The anxiety, the foggy brain, I do still take an antidepressant, but I take a very, very small one because I have underlying anxiety, and I was just one of those people that always had underlying anxiety. So with it, it just made it a lot that I couldn't actually physically do things like drive cars, go to events, go round to girlfriends for dinner. I actually couldn't do any of these. I was just frozen, with this fear of anxiety. So I needed a bit of help, and the CBD really helps me. And I think, 54, and if I have to have these, take a few little things here and there to get a better way of life, why not? Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a really good sort of attitude to have, because it's about quality of life, I think. And funny enough, today I did have a really nice GP phone me up from a patient that I'd seen, and I wrote their prescription for them. And they went and took it to their GP, and they said, "Could you prescribe this to me on the NHS?" And the GP didn't understand the Androfem side of things, so he phoned me up, and I said, "Look, that is on private, that is private, but you can give them this on the NHS." So I helped him and I guided him to get that.
Yeah, is that the localized one?
Yeah.
It's available.
No, the testosterone gel, the Tostran gel.
Oh,
which,
yeah.
Okay, licensed for men, but we can adapt it for women. So I just guided him through writing the prescription for this lady that had come to see me, and that at least has got her going on.
Oh,
to her
well
HRT.
done. Well
So
done
I
to
think
you for
it's been,
doing that.
yeah,
Thank you.
and well done the GP for calling me. You know, I thought
Yeah,
that was really good.
calling you. And yeah, and that's what I'm also to say, you know, when you go to see Dr. Harper, don't get the fear, because people are like, oh my God, is it going to be 200x amount of times every time I see? Is it going to be,
No.
you know? But you know
Yeah.
what? Most of them, if it's just getting a repeat prescription, you can get it through your GP,
Yeah.
which is what I do. You know, I go to my
And that's what I
GP,
tell most of them to do.
and they are willing. Yeah, because you don't have to keep going privately.
No.
You can do, of course, if it's easier and it's just better for your life and you can afford it. But, you know, sometimes, you know, things are a bit hard. And, you know,
Yeah.
Dr. Harper will send your notes to your GP, and then the GP, they can talk between each other. And, you know, but for the first consultation, to get it all done and get everything, so everything is working in order, I would go and see Dr. Harper, and then
Well, I mean,
she
I'm
will.
still doing them by Zoom, Meg. I'm doing both. I'm seeing people in clinic now.
Yeah,
so
and doing it by Zoom.
But a lot of people still want to do Zoom. And I just wanted to say that I'm now also doing blood testing kits that I can send out to you. So, you know, you can still have your bloods done and your hormone levels all checked out.
Yeah, so please do it, because you will feel within 4 or 5 days, you will feel a different person. You will start to sleep. You will start to smile. You will start to get those aching joints when you get out of bed and you feel as stiff as a board. Dr. Harper's not my age yet, but you do. You feel like
No, but,
you're
you know, I've
walking.
had some really lovely comments this week. One of my patients, she's from Bolton, so she said, I've been thinking about making an appointment for ages to go and see somebody, but you know, during lockdown I saw that you were doing Zoom, and she wrote me this lovely comment to say lots of bad things have been said about lockdown, but you know, it's been the best thing for me has been to see you, and she said it was just as good as if I'd come in to see you in person, and it's turned my life around. And I think one of the nice things about Zoom for some people is that it's really hard when you're perimenopausal to get that energy, to feel motivated. So, you know, you don't have to do your hair for me. You don't have to do your makeup.
Look at me. I've got no hair and makeup on.
Sit in your bed and make the call.
Yeah.
And have everything.
There's a lady from Canada wanting to see you, by the way. It just came up.
And Brazil. Hello, Emily from Brazil.
Yeah, she just says from Canada, can I have a session with you? So don't forget to DM Dr. Harper after, else she might forget.
Yes, I you know, when you're virtual, I've done it in Saudi Arabia, in Spain, in France, and Ireland. You know, it's great.
Yeah, just get them going, and I promise you, this is the best thing. It will make you feel human again. I can't describe from being in the midst of the worst menopause and now feeling back to Meg again.
Yeah.
And
I would second that, because I think often women don't realize how well they could feel.
Yeah, you just go through it, don't you? Yeah. I have 4 pumps of estrogel and use estrogen 100 milligrams a day. Great. I have heard you can use the estrogen vaginally. Is this better? I still have regular periods. Thank you. So instead of taking it orally, is it exactly the same, just to put a little hole?
Yeah, it's not better. It's not better. It's personal preference, I think, because vaginally, you know, those women who maybe are a little bit more progesterone sensitive, who maybe suffer with IBS type symptoms, you know, because sometimes it can cause you to feel a bit more bloated, can feel, you know, get a bit of tummy cramps, those kind of things. So for those women, you know, they may prefer to take it vaginally.
And then you just make a hole into it and squirt the liquid in, do you? Or do you put just the whole thing inside?
No, you just insert it, because the capsule is dissolvable, so it's absolutely fine.
So it's that one, it's the one that's in the packet, yeah. Is it one to those, is the estrogen one that's in the It's the same one that's in the packet.
packet.
Oh, okay, easy as that. There you go.
You can
Just
get a
pop it up
vaginal
there.
one. You can, yeah, and you, but you, some women prefer to. There is a vaginal version as well, which is also, you know, which you can also get prescribed. So you can have the vaginal version, but if you've got the oral ones, don't waste them. We can still use them vaginally.
Okay, great. That's good to know. Yeah. Okay. What?
I think we're gonna have to wrap up before.
Yeah,
my phone
because it's
dies.
10:02 already. Yeah, that went really quick
Yeah.
today. Anyway, lovely to
Look.
see you. Have a great weekend.
And we'll think of another topic for next week. We'll think of something for next
Something,
week.
a topic.
Absolutely,
Absolutely, yeah.
Or if people have ideas, do let us know as well.
Yeah,
But lovely
brilliant.
to see you again, okay?
Mm.